Good morning and welcome back to your our second day of the Daily World Walk. It's October 18th in Reality 1, and here we are. So, as far as our refresher, we were talking about the Sea of Tranquility yesterday, and the creatures called the Pax that kind of call it the cradle of their civilization. So we talked a little bit about how the geography, more or less, so to speak, hydrography, I guess, of the Sea of Tranquility. So it's shallow. There's these big current there's these rifts or deep fissure type river situations out in the water that are where the main currents flow, where big ships can traverse. And of course, we have the marshy lowlands that surround it. It's a freshwater sea called the Sea of Tranquility. And today, I think we're going to talk about something that exists immediately to the west of this vast lake of fresh water, and that is, of course, some land, because otherwise where does the water, how do you know where the water ends? So, granted, it could be something else. That's an interesting thought. Some other kind of fundamental geography that is different from land or water. But I think we're going to keep it easy this time. Just don't forget, there's always that option, right? If you're world building, always the option to throw in that third thing, that span, or fourth thing even, you just keep going. Like, I could say, okay, let's just say that instead of having directly land next to the Sea of Tranquility, there's something else. What kind of biome is it? What kind of substrate is this biome? It's not land, it's not water. I guess that would leave us with air traditionally, but maybe there's another substance, another material that we could work with. And air would be weird. But I do think the idea of it being a vertical difference, or, obviously because the land and water are kind of associated with verticality. So, land up, water down, air up even higher. Now, what if it's something lower than water? So it's a magma. Oh, okay. Let's keep it simple. So it's kind of Earth. We're talking about a low land over a kind of situation where it's boiling volcanic landmass, but it's for some reason lower. It sinks instead of expanding. Oh, wow. The fire pit, basically. The flame land. We're going to call it the Flame Coast, or the Flame Fall. The Flame Fall. Okay, here we go. So we have the Sea of Tranquility. When you go immediately west of the Sea of Tranquility, you get to what the Pax and the humans call the Flame Fall. And it is immense waterfalls that just bubble away into steam as they cross this ridge and fall into a very hot kind of volcanic land, a rift perhaps it's not that big. I actually like that idea. The flame fall is kind of just the rift that separates the western side of the Sea of Tranquility from the lands beyond, or whatever lies beyond it. So this pit, or crevice, it's a giant crevasse, the Flame Fall. It's a volcanic fissure that boils away the sea, and therefore keeps the water kind of low. That makes so much sense, actually, with the way the sea works. Is there's only so much water, right? And this area is probably cloudy, right? There's steam rising from it all the time. Clouds all over the western waters of the lake, and the area around that. And so the Flame Fall I don't think it's going to be home to a major species sort of a setting. I don't think that makes sense necessarily, because the world building needs to stop somewhere, or rather, it can be simple sometimes. It doesn't need to stop anywhere. So let me correct myself there. But sometimes you don't have to worry so much. So this is just a big obstacle, I guess. But maybe there's something else there that's not a major species, not like a sentient human species that's really important. Human-like, I mean. Or human. Depending on, we had that conversation yesterday. See the Elder Scrolls, and are humans politically... is human a political motivated term, Is an elf a human? Is an orc a human, Actually, okay, so maybe there is a species that lives there that is intelligent to the level of humans and packs. And we're going to call them, well, who knows what they're like at this point. But I imagine I kind of like the idea they're kind of dwarf-like. They're kind of small, maybe reptilian, maybe. Okay, no, let's go with that. So they're reptilian because they're in a small, very moist area, right? Because there's all this steam. Maybe this might be the home of the dragons, if we have dragons in this setting, but I don't want to go that simple. So there's some kind of flame or magma living creature. I don't want to go too gross or too weird, so they're not going to be like a worm or an earth or a beast that's like an insect. But I think these things are called... forget it. The forged. So we got the packs and the forged. And the forged, I think, are not small. They're not, but they are stocky. And maybe even so stocky that they have like 4 legs and then 2 arms. Okay, yes, they're hexapodal. Unusual in a world where we already have packs who are definitely bipeds, even if they are amphibious. But we got these 6-limbed mammals, I guess. No, reptiles. 6-limbed reptiles called the forged. And they're big, but they're tough. They're big and tough. And I think they're not the most able to build stuff in their land. And they're not necessarily able to survive easily elsewhere because of their, physiology. They probably only survive in the hot lands west of the packs with ease. Maybe even only in this one little rift in the Flamefall. So, these creatures refine. They're an intelligent species. There's probably more than one nation of them, even in the Flamefall. Unless it's really, really small. But I think it probably goes all the way north and south. Across the western edge of the lake. Which story we've established is quite big. So, on the Sea of Tranquility, on the west, we have this immense land. Immense strip of volcanic land where it might be narrow, but there's numerous cultures. There's a powerful nation maybe or two, and not an empire probably. maybe there's an empire one, but let's not go there yet. So these forged are reptilian 6-limbed creatures, kind of dragon-like maybe, but probably because they subsist on the heat. And I like the idea that they forge and they make animals, not animals, they make constructs, weapons and magical beasts out of machinery, out of heat and steam-powered machinery. Okay, so now we have a pretty good character for them. Maybe not forged, maybe they should be the forgers. Okay, so we have packs and forgers and humans. And I think the humans probably want to trade with the forgers because the forgers are making lots of valuable material, lots of stuff. It might be hard to make it work outside of their land, but the humans are ingenious. They'll figure it out. And the packs are kind of caught in the middle. Or rather, they could help trade between these two because they are aquatic, they're amphibious. They can help trade across the Sea of Tranquility. And possibly that's the whole situation, and it's our core of our setting, is actually not a massive war or conflict in that way, but an economic strife. I mean, granted, we could go the whole Roman route, create a wasteland and call it peace, but I like it better this way because it's a little different for a change. So there's numerous nations on the border of the Sea of Tranquility that trade across it, and there's probably lots of crime and piracy and similar things going on the Great Sea of Tranquility along these trade routes, which are of course limited by the deep parts of the water and the shallow parts where you can trade lighter goods. But I imagine the forgers' big machines can't be transported across the shallows, really. So, the forgers have their mighty engines of whatever. I mean, economics, you know, they're making engines that fuel something in the human lands to the east and maybe the north or south. Oh, I like this idea. Maybe the forgers are making... Well, they used to make machines for war, for fighting amongst themselves, perhaps, because they got used to it. And when they met humans for the first time, perhaps on big steamships on the Sea of Tranquility, maybe that's pretty recent. I think that's kind of cool. So trade has opened up with the forgers recently. They have these huge steamships that usually didn't get far from their side of the Sea of Tranquility, but humans finally explore far enough west to see them. And now we have this whole trade opening up, and the packs are helping out with it, of course. But the idea here, and maybe the packs are pirating stuff, you know, I think there's probably room for both. Stealing and robbing the ships as they try to pass over. Or possibly just exacting tolls, you know, toll river, basically, toll water. Toll water, that's kind of a cool term. But anyway, across the Sea of Tranquility from the forgers is humanity, or most of humanity. I kind of like that idea of separating it out a little bit like this. So the forgers are trading with humanity, humans, and other species, if there are any others on the other sides. And I like this idea because then we have the might of this physically powerful species, I imagine, but they're kind of sequestered. And so access to their material is maybe the source of a cold war in the other lands. I think that's kind of fun. Who can get there? Or colonial kind of conflicts. Who can get there and get the good stuff? Extract it or take it home and use it. Okay, so maybe some of those things they're building are made for war. Probably, initially that's probably how it works too. But, I mean, it's pretty obvious how you can use a steam machine, a big fiery engine of war. That makes sense. But what if there's something else? I kind of like the idea that there's some kind of maybe thinking machine or something else. Something more not as directly conflict-oriented. Obviously, we could have, we could have agrarian type stuff, you know. We could have plows, that kind of thing. Now I'm in corn country here, so it comes to mind, it's the harvest season here where I am. But I like the idea that actually there's something a little more esoteric going on as well. Right? All that stuff could be happening. Forgers are making bank, probably, supplying all these powerful machines that maybe only they can make. I mean, they're closely guarding their secrets. It's a whole other conflict to have, right? So the forgers have their secrets, and they have their machines, and they have possibly it's also their land allows them to forge stuff, which would be very difficult to make elsewhere. And you can't really steal that, right? Because humans probably can't really live in the flame fall very easily. It's really hot. So the foragers who are immune to the fire, or at least resistant to it, and to the extent that they're fine there, they like it there. The foragers are supplying a particular special kind of machine. Maybe this is the newest innovation. And I don't want to say like a soul engine or a mind machine, because I feel like that's getting too close to AI stuff. And I feel like that's just kind of done, even if not in a fantasy setting. I don't really want to talk about that right now. So maybe they're making something that's why I went soul engine first, honestly. Maybe they're making some kind of mighty machine that influences religious beliefs elsewhere, or starts a religion, or maybe they're making a new kind of ship. Just brainstorming here, right? That's the point of the Daily World Walk, is to brainstorm. Almost halfway through it, too, by the way. So, yeah, I'm Tim Niederreiter, by the way. I don't think I introduced myself today. I'm a fantasy author. I'm a role-playing weirdo, and I like world building a lot, as you can probably guess, as I did all this off the top of my head, more or less. And you can see how things snowball pretty fast if you let yourself be free from assumptions. And granted, we're world building a lot without any characters at this point, which is unusual for me. But I wanted to show how, even without a strictly guided principle, just having a fantasy world as our only really guiding principle and an RPG kind of thing in mind. Role-playing games, for those not acquainted, if there are any of you here. But, who knows? I can dream of people discovering this podcast more often and more broadly. But games like D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. But we make up worlds, we make up worlds, and I've been doing it for so long, basically my whole life, that even before I knew the term world building, I was making settings, making conflicts and campaigns. Yeah, so off we go. But I should say, if you want to see some of my strangest world building, definitely check out Origin of Storms. That's my Pillar Universe novel, and it's out right now. It's been out for a while, but it's now out in hardcover. I recommend that version because, believe it or not, the world's longest river, Amazon.com, makes a pretty good hardcover. It's a shame that you have to go there if you want to get that, but it's a good quality book. And I can vouch for the story and editing in that one. It's very thorough, and it's a long book. Anyway, it's also about like a trade or cold imbalance in civilizations, right? So let's go back to the Sea of Tranquility and the Flamefall and the lands to the east and beyond. See, I really like the concept that, as I've thought about it, there's something that's really changing the way people think about the world that just is being influenced by the fact that there are these machines. Maybe the machines are kind of smart, right? Maybe they're not. Maybe that's just the nature of technology in this setting, is it's not inanimate or unintelligent like it is in our world. Yeah, okay, I like that idea. So the motive force, whatever it is that these forgers use to transport the magic or whatever it is the forgers use to operate their machines, maybe only in foreign territory, right? When they're not in the Flamefall, the thing the forgers need to supply the machines with is thought. They're thought engines. And they are able to therefore prove that there is a difference between a thinking being and like a rock. Maybe a tree, but maybe trees have the thoughts too, though they wouldn't last too long in these forger machines probably because, they're made of wood and forger machines operate on heat. Also, trees are kind of in the ground, so you'd have to build an engine around them. Anyway, let's get to it. So, forgers, packs. I think the packs are getting a little lost here, so I think they need to have something going on that directly relates to these machines. Possibly, I don't think they should be opposed to them directly, because I think that's a little obvious, right? But maybe, the packs have probably known the forgers were there all along. But rather than them being enemies of the forgers all along, perhaps there are probably not a lot of forgers compared to packs. Let's be clear, packs can live practically everywhere. Forgers really only live in the Flamefall. So maybe the Flamefall is like a temple. It's like a blessed place for the packs. Yeah, okay, so the packs want to protect the Flamefall, and maybe they even see, some of them probably see, they've established there's multiple different kinds of packs, civilization, or culture, at least. So, I think the packs see the forgers as kind of a blessed people, because they live only in the one place. And yeah, they're not colonizing, but they also cannot be colonized. So they're untouchable to the packs. They're powerful in this way that's kind of unique because they're unassailable. And humans are a little more able to deal with the heat than the packs or whatever, or they're just way more willing to try because they can take that stuff to their homelands and use those engines, those thought engines. So the packs and the packs kind of revere the forgers. Maybe even the forger ships are revered by the packs, particularly in some parts. And so these engines, these thought engines, aren't something that the packs despise or fear. They kind of, I don't think they worship them necessarily in most cases, but you'll hear a lot of most or usually or whatever, because I like the variety. I like having options. Don't want to be absolute about everything. Absolutism in world building can be a real hang-up, and it can stop people from doing things that would be really cool. Just a thought there. So, I think the Forgers, we're going to say many packs in the West revere them as kind of high priests or something of some. Okay. So they're more like a people that is seen as special by the packs, maybe not really revered themselves. They're seen as kind of emissaries from a higher power. Okay. Or guardians of a higher power. Okay, let's keep it that way, because they can't really move around. So, the packs, that probably is why the packs help facilitate trade to humanity, right? So, okay, maybe skip some stuff there. So, the Forgers make thought engines, or mind engines, or soul engines, whatever. And those engines make the packs think of them as like guardians of the soul, guardians of God. And the packs, therefore, in these Western packs cultures, or culture, probably, it might only be one, but it's probably a few. In these Western packs cultures, which maybe have conflict with each other, the packs generally, though, want to protect and spread the Forgers' abilities to influence the world, because the Forgers can't go other places. Okay. The Forgers can't really get off their own land because they're so dependent on the physiology, on the heat of the flames from the mantle, from the volcanic land they live in, that the Forgers can't go anywhere else really. But the packs help them. Okay, so the packs are like missionaries. And maybe maybe humanity didn't discover the flamefall on their own. Okay, I like this. The flamefall was not discovered by humanity, or rather, at least not at first. I think people trade there now, but the packs are the ones that helped to begin this. By these Western packs cultures trying to disseminate the flame engines, the thought engines to the land, beyond the Lake of Tranquility, the Sea of Tranquility. And then that is now changing human society out east and south and north, wherever there is humanity. They're being changed vastly by the introduction of these machines, which are powerful, and they can not only think and talk, probably. They think and act, and they have spirits in them that motivate their movements. And they're powered by steam, but they're also motivated by some kind of magic within them. And that means when the packs bring them to human lands, these machines, okay, maybe the machines aren't even strictly good or even being sold to humanity so much as they are here to conquer or influence humanity. They're ambassadors, okay. So the machines, the thought engines, actually serve as an extension of the Forgers. They're priests, they're missionaries, and the packs are their allies. Okay, this is getting fun. I kind of like this. These Western packs are bringing the light of thought engines to the east and the north and the south. They're spreading across the land. I wish I hadn't picked west for the flamefall, but oh well, here we go. So the flamefall is, this kind of the high temple of a people that want to spread their power but can't, and therefore they've influenced the nearby packs to trade and bring their fire, spread their flames from the flamefall far and wide to the rest of the world. Yes, okay. We're already getting a pretty good basis, right? It's been only about an hour of actual talking here. Less than an hour of out loud world building. And you can see how fast the world develops, right? I mean, there's a lot there already. And I'm on my way back, so we're almost done for the day. We're getting on that downward slope. But I really do appreciate you listening. And if you are, I plan to be back tomorrow, even though tomorrow is Sunday. I mean, I'm going to try. Even though I have a lot to do. This has been really fun the first couple of times, so I hopefully we'll be back again tomorrow. And keep the daily world walk going. Because walking and world building, what's better? Nothing. Yeah, some things, but yeah, I'm still working on books out there, so you can find my books, timneedawriter.com. That's need, NEEDAWRITER.com. And yeah, timneedawriter.com. Also, don't forget my books are available on Amazon, and soon all books will be available wide in all formats except for audio, because audiobook is a whole other monster right now. It's a mess as far as Audible goes at the moment for authors, and I don't have the money, haven't had the money in the past to get audiobooks produced for all my volumes. But yeah, so back to me. I'm going to be editing a bunch today. I'll be working on the new book, The Mirror Throne, which is far from done, but it's going well. Got back on that horse yesterday, so anyway, I'm thrilled with the world building and the casual movements of story that just can be developed so quickly once you have the skills. Gotta emphasize, practice makes better. Maybe not perfect, but it makes better. And practice is what I'm here to do. So go out there and build some worlds of your own. Thanks for listening. And yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening again.